Hello to my fellow history lovers, people that think if I learn something new, it's going to be a great day. So I just have one question for you today. In the 13 colonies, did the majority of colonists support the revolution? This comes from these great cards. This is Library of Congress. It's just a deck of cards with these great questions. So did they? Did the majority? And the answer here says no. Despite the rebels' promise of greater liberty and lower taxes, the war was not popular in either England or the colonies. Scholars have estimated that less than 50% of the colonists actively backed the revolution, and the number was perhaps as low as one-third. New York contributed more men to the British forces than the Patriot ranks. I didn't know that. That was really interesting. There were many reasons why one might be a loyalist. A livelihood that depended on Britain. B, strong personal or business ties. C, a deep ideological belief in the monarchy. Or D, opposition to the idea that the colonists should not be taxed by Parliament. And I'll just say real quick, that monarchy thing was really deep in many of the colonists' heart, this idea that they owed loyalty and allegiance to the king. I mean, they'd been brought up with this idea. So when Thomas Paine's famous Common Sense came out and he kind of mocks the monarchy, it was a big deal. And for some people, that was a changing point because they thought, yeah, is the monarchy sort of this, thing to be idolized, or is it actually just a guy who maybe is good or isn't, or woman in the case of a queen? Anyway, onward. The divide between patriots and loyalists intensified in the years leading up to the war as rebellious groups like the Sons of Liberty intermittently attacked those with loyalist inclinations. Over the years, neighbors and communities developed staunch factions and personal loyalties that often dictated how individuals sided during the war. And I'll just share one more thing. So when I wrote the first Kep Westgard book, I needed a villain, and he needed to want the Americans not to win the revolution. And I thought, okay, what are we going to be? What is his motivation? So my background is in law, and it turns out there were a lot of lawsuits. Interesting, because when the war ended, many of the loyalists' property was confiscated, and it was never given back. And a lot of them had to flee to Canada. And so there were a number of lawsuits through the years. So my villain is sort of raised on this idea that his inheritance was stolen, and he's determined to right the wrong and change the outcome of the American Revolution. So he goes to these turning points in the American Revolution, all of these major battles, and sees if he can change things around. That's kind of the premise of the time travel series. Anyway, thank you for letting me share. Did you know? And I'll see you tomorrow.